And you already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life. And we're back. Losing your life on the day that you're supposed to go home. Thinking that everything was sweet, everything was going to be fine. I'm on the way out the gate. Ain't no way nobody's going to do nothing to me. Let me make this very clear from the beginning of the video. You're in there until you're not no more. And you better conduct yourself and carry yourself as if anything can happen at any given moment. And that's exactly what happens with today's story. A story of one guy that had done a lot of time, and right at the end, decided to do some grimy stuff, and thought that he was just going to walk out the door. Sometimes it ain't the ops. Sometimes it ain't your enemies. Sometimes it ain't them other guys you got to worry about. Sometimes it's the guys closest to you. Now, I do not advise anybody to go to prison. I don't glorify prison, and I don't think nothing's funny about it. It's a terrible place filled with terrible men. But if you do find yourself in there, I hope that my videos can guide you in the right direction. If you have a loved one in there, I hope that by sharing my videos and the advice I give in mine, that you can help them along their way. Losing your life at the very end, on a day that you're supposed to get out from the ones that say they care about you the most. It's a crazy story, true story, but a sad story. Could you imagine? It's the day you're going home. You'd have made it. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that light ends up turning into a different type of light you see. With all that being said, you know how to seen it, you know how to lived it, so let's relive it. Now, I always like to make things clear, transparent right out the gate. This is 100% a true story, and I know that for a fact because of how many people have told me this story and wanted me to tell this story. Now, my last bid, which was just last year, I got cool with a dude named Michael, which you can say his last initial was S. I don't think he wants to be in the story, but I got cool with a dude. I met this dude in the jail. I went through receiving with this dude, and then at the very end of our receiving history, he went his own way. This dude was an amazing storyteller. He had done a lot of time in prison and was back in there for some gun charges. But in sitting with him, he gave me a lot of knowledge. We knew a lot of the same people. And he asked me one day, "You remember when Big Meat got killed?" Big Meat? What type of name is Big Meat? And he goes on to tell me, well, his real name ain't Big Meat. Of course his real name's not Big Meat. Who the hell names their kid Big Meat? You trying to prepare your child for porn? She's like, nah, listen. I said, how you get the name Big Meat? He said, well, the guard seen him in the shower one day, a female guard, and she thought he was in there tugging. And they drug him out the showers, butt-ball naked, for everybody to see what he was working with. And that's when he got the name Big Meat. That's not a name. I'm not about to be calling no other man Big Meat. I'll call you Meat. Maybe you stole some meat from the grocery store or something, but Big Meat. I'll call you BM. That's too close to baby mama. I'm just finding out your name and call you by your name. But he tells me, he says, this dude has been in and out of prison his whole entire life. He said I end up at a place called Sussex. Now they got a Sussex 1 and a Sussex 2. And just for the sake of not releasing too much, I'm just going to say it was at Sussex. Don't matter which one. If you know about the story and you remember this story, please don't get in the comment section saying, well, this is different, this is different. I'm going to change things intentionally. But never get too far away from the truth. He said everybody knew Big Meat. The man had been down longer than most people had been alive. He'd get out of prison, he'd come right back. No, something like legitly to the point that the guys that were around him would be like, did you go home? Would you go to the jail and catch a new charge? Or do you have an indictment waiting and they just returned you? Bro, you ain't been gone a year and a half. So like a lot of inmates, meat gets hot. But they're all old school convicts. You know the ones you see in the movie? With their clothes all iron, walk a certain way, talk a certain way, conduct themselves a certain way? That was Meat and Tony. He said everywhere you seen Meat, you seen Tony. If Meat got into an altercation, now you're talking back in the 80s and 90s. If Meat got into an altercation, Tony was on it. If you wanted to do something to Meat, Tony was on it. And vice versa. He said, now through the years of doing time with them, I had seen them fight a couple times. They're like brothers. It's going to happen. Whenever you and somebody really, really mess with each other, it may come a point where somebody's going to establish dominance. Both of y'all supposed to be gangsters. He's talking crazy out his mouth. You talking crazy out his mouth. You know what? Let's just shoot the friendly fade. Get this out the way. No hard feelings afterwards. Just if you knock me out, don't stomp me. All right, let's do it. So he tells me at the time, Tony don't have a lot. He said Meat gets money in from the street. He's got a couple different women he talks to. But his homeboy Tony don't have a lot, so Meat would always bring bread with him. He said Tony ends up messing with a female guard. That female guard starts bringing him that pack in. It always happens like that. It's never just going to be sex. Dudes are going to want to get money as well. So now it goes from Meat taking care of Tony to Tony taking care of Meat and blessing everybody. Plus, they get high, they get funky, they do the dope. So they're getting stupid high. Mike said, now, Jay, remember, this is an era where things were still very segregated. with the black guys and the white guys. The blacks clicked with the blacks and the whites clicked with the whites. Anybody else clicked with their own. So a lot of guys didn't know Tony had the pack, but when they did, a bunch of beef popped off. Now, I don't care how tough you are. You can be the toughest dude you think from your neighborhood, from your city, whatever it may be. Once you get inside DOC where monsters are very, very real, and you're surrounded by men that have done heinous, heinous things, please expect somebody to test the water time and time again. I don't care if you're Mike Tyson. Somebody in there wants that reputation. Somebody wants that name. And they'll get it by all means necessary. Whether that means a knife or knocking your ass out, somebody's going to try the waters. Because this is a question I asked him. I said, you said these are convicts. Tony, Meat, these other guys, these are stand-up comics. There's other guys in the story as well. He said, yeah, but this is prison. You're right. My thought is, how you going to let somebody else press you if you're supposed to be his convict? Ain't no convict about to let nobody press nothing. So he said these black dudes go at Tony and Meat and them, right? Trying to get the pack up off of him. He gets the pack off the female. They run down on him, get the knives out, give it the knife play, and all the stabbing shit occurs. They both get locked up. They get separated, sent to different compounds. He said a few years would pass, 5-6 years would pass, and they both end up on the same compound once again. He said these dudes rocked with each other to the point that they had each other's family's phone numbers. They would call and check on one another. Hey, look, this Meat, man. What's up with Tony, man? Hey, and I appreciate y'all calling and putting that money on the phone. He's where? Okay. Where's he think they shipping him to? Okay, because I got an annual review coming up. You know what an annual review is? That's when they classify you each year and determine if you can stay at that level or drop to a lower level. He finds out where Tony's going, puts in for his annual review, puts in to go to the same place. Boom, years have passed, they're back together again. I know what it is to be pulled away from a friend or to make a friend in prison and then something happened just like that. Boom, and y'all are separated and you never see each other again. That's the story of me and Jacob Aquino. Great friend of mine. We had a serious situation pop off. We handled the situation. He got shipped. I slid through the cracks, didn't get caught up, didn't get jammed up. So I know how it is. I would have my people check on Jacob, look him up, call his people, do this, do that throughout the years. Currently comes home 2027. Shout out to Jacob Aquino. He said, so over the years, Tony had got real good at messing with electronics. If something of yours breaks in prison, at the time it was tape players or CD players. If that breaks, you don't want to go spend $50, $60 to buy a new one. You take it to the TV repairman. Yes, there's a guy in prison that will take a 12-volt adapter, 2 pencils, hook it to the cords coming off the adapters, and solder your TV and fix it. Very common. Very good hustle. He said, so over the years, Tony has learned how to work on these appliances. So that's how he gets his money. Meat shows up. He's really not getting money like that from the street no more. So once again, they start breaking bread with each other to get high and to eat. Mike says that over time, for one reason or another, Tony had lost his television. Meat's got a television. Something messed up on Meat's television. Tony fixed it. And Meat told him, on the day that I go home, all this stuff is yours, man. Don't even trip over it. I got you. I'm going to leave it to you. This is a very important part of the story. Remember that. Something or another happens. Tony and Meat get to beef, and I believe he said Meat was doing something to his cellmate that Tony didn't agree with, bullying him, taking his stuff, whatever. He didn't get too clear with it. I think he said he was taking advantage of his cellmate. Tony didn't agree with it. Meat and Tony fall out. He said for the next 6 or 7 months, they would walk by each other in passing. Kind of like you ever seen Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence? That type of deal, except it wasn't years. He said they go a while without talking to each other. You'd see them both in the rec yard. They walk by each other, nod, and keep it moving. Tony just couldn't get down with whatever it was that Meat done. Mike said some more time passes. He sees Tony and Meat start talking again, and the next thing you know, they're back to their old stuff. They don't live in the same pod. They live in the same building in 2 different units, but they're back to kicking it. You'd see them in the chow hall. You'd see them on the rec yard. You'd see them down in the gym working out together. Whatever it may be, if it was possible, and you saw one, you saw the other. He says now every year they go off parole. Tony would go up, and then a couple months later, Meat would go up. And every single time, they get turned down. That's a sad day. Let me interject. Hold on now. That's a sad day. I saw men go to the parole board year after year after year. So hopeful going in, and then they would have to come back and wait for an answer. I did a story on Buddy Lee, who would sell all his stuff every time before going to the parole board, only to go to parole board and be denied parole and have to come back and live amongst everybody and try to get his stuff back because not going home. Mike said Tony would always get really excited around parole time. Meat never got excited like talking about. He said Meat more or less was just like, go over here for another turn down. I done had this many turn downs. Let's go over here and do this again, they're not going to let me out. Tony, on the other hand, not having the most crazy violent charges, but still violent charges, would go over there hopeful, with a speech ready. This is why you should let me out. Let me return to society. I serve more purpose out there than I do inside of a penitentiary. Denied. Every time this would happen, Meat and Tony would really turn up with the getting high. It would go from them spending a little bit of money to tricking this person, taking stuff from this person, buying this for one price, selling it for another. Whatever they had to do, they was going to do it to get high. And eventually them getting high would kind of just go back to normal. They end up falling out again. This is like a toxic relationship almost, where you and your girl really don't like each other, but y'all love each other, so y'all just, you can't stand to be apart, but you can't stand to be together. That's what this story reminds me. He says they fall out again, Jay, and this time they get to fighting behind the whole ordeal, and Tony fucked Meat up. He said there's no denying that Tony wanted to fight. Meat tried to tell people, oh, he did this, he did that. He had his shoes on the floor. He knew I was going to trip over him. That's how he wanted to fight. It really don't matter. Win's a win, a loss is a loss. But whatever happened, they fell out. Tony ended up beating the shit out of him. He said Tony goes to the hole, and after a few months, Tony comes back from the hole, and now they put Tony in the same pod as Meat. Now they've got to live around each other. You think that if you go to prison and you get to beefing with somebody, they're going to keep y'all separated? No, they're not. No, they're not. And if they do, you got to sign a keep-away list. And then they're going to notify him that you're on his keep-away list. And then he's going to go tell everybody, this scary bitch put me on a keep-away list. And dude's going to look at you like you're scared. So now not only have they fought, not only has Tony beat the shit out of Meat, not only are they in the same prison, well, when Tony comes out the hole, they're now in the same exact housing unit, this same pod. And Mike made it clear. He liked Tony, so but I was a lot closer to Meat. He's like, I did a large majority of my time with Meat. I remember the day I seen him come back into Sussex in the pod. I helped him with his bags and put his stuff away. Meat was my guy. These are Mike's words. He said, Tony, I didn't care so much for. I've been in prison with Tony a long time, and Tony had done a lot of grimy shit while in here. Tony had put that blade in people that didn't deserve it. He claimed he wasn't no killer. He claimed he didn't have no serious violent charges, but I knew personally of dudes he had tried to take out with a knife in prison. That's a different type of animal. A child can pull a trigger. But to take a knife and get up on somebody, it's a much more personal act. That's a much more anger-fueled act. And Mike said Tony was famous for pushing that knife. Meat knew it. Everybody else knew it. He said, I was surprised that when they got into it on several different occasions, Tony didn't pull the knife out and stab Meat. He said, but I think everybody knew Tony could beat Meat. Meat was a short dude. Tony's much taller. So Mike says that while Tony's in the hole, Meat starts kicking him with different dudes. He's already got his little group of dudes he kicks with in the pod. But now that he's not hanging out with Tony, he's got these dudes he flocks with, rocks with every single day. Gets high with, passes time by with, those type of dudes. Watches TV with. He's in bid mode. He's bidding with these dudes. Tony comes back after beating Meat up. Meat more or less wants to let the beef go. But the dudes that Meat hangs out with is like, look, you can't let that ride. You walked around this bitch looking like Willie Lump, like old Sammy Sausage Head for the last few months after Tony beat you up. He's back, run it back. Meat don't want to fight with Tony. Tony's telling dudes, I'm not going to fight with him no more. This time I'm just going to pull the blade. This time I'm just going to stick him. I'm not going to keep fighting with him. Meat being a short dude, the way I was told, Meat was really husky. And Tony had the same build, but was just really tall. Now, all this transpires the day Tony comes back, with these dudes trying to get Tony and Meat to go at it again. So it's either we're going to be enemies or we're going to be friends. We can't both coexist here. So dudes get together, they both agree, there's no point in fighting. Man, y'all have known each other forever. Why y'all always doing this dumb shit? That's your homeboy. That's your homeboy. And just like that, they make up. They slide off together, go on one of the cells, they get high, come out all fucked up, all is good in the penitentiary again. Like clockwork, Tony goes up for parole. Denied. You just came out the hole for fighting. And he's back to what he's always doing. Getting high 90 miles an hour. Going overtime with it. Overdrive with it. Just got bad news. It's all bad news. Why not? Why wouldn't I get high? What else I got to do? What I got to lose at this point? People ain't gonna let me go home. Might as well get high. Tony's full-fledged. Meat's right there with him, back in the mix, getting high. Meat goes off parole. Tells everybody, deny. And it's the same cycle over and over and over with these two guys again. Everybody knows them. Most of the guards know them. They've been in prison the majority of their lives. They become really good friends. They have really bad addictions. They can't stand each other one day. They love each other the next. That'll hurt each other and hurt you even worse if you try to do something to one of them. Now, you have people that work in the offices in prison. They clean the offices. They vacuum. They mop the floors. They sweep. They do this. They do that. That's a job you have inside the DOC. Somebody comes back one day and starts spreading this rumor that they seen Meat's name on the parole list. Nah, hell nah. Parole list? I ain't make no parole. I've been told I was denied. Dude is saying you going home. You might want to check. Meat's like, it ain't no point in checking. I'm not going home. To find out, Meat knew he was making parole. He was granted parole. Now, the way parole works is once you're granted, you don't go home that day. It It could be a month, 2 months, 3 months, but you're eventually going to go home in the coming months. They got to figure out a home plan and all these different things. They're not letting dudes just out of prison, out the door like they do in the movies. It's just, there's nobody here to get you? Okay, just walk off into the sunset. No, somebody's got to be there to pick you up. They want to know where you're going. You got to have your probation and parole intact. So it's a process on getting you out the prison. Rumors started that Meat made parole, and Meat is 100% denying it. Why would I lie about making parole? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Nah, I didn't make parole. I called my people. They called the parole board. They called up here. They said, no, I didn't make parole. Mike said he never believed Meat from the beginning. He said the minute that Meat started talking about, I didn't make parole, yet he's not getting high like he was, he knew something was up. This dude was trying to clean up to go home. When you go home to probation, they're going to let you out any day now. You don't know when you're going home. You're going to have to go piss. And if you piss, that's a violation. You came out of prison dirty for heroin? How am I supposed to trust you? As a parole officer or probation officer, your client comes out of prison, and the day they come out, they test positive for heroin. You was in prison getting high. Everybody had seen Meat fall back from the getting high, which further sparked everybody's interest because the man had been getting high his whole entire bid. He said, but like anything else, over time, things happen, things transpire, and you start to forget about that and start to focus on this. Now, when I tell y'all, it always ends bad. It always ends bad. When it comes to prison, there's really no silver lining. There's no happy ending. The happy ending is the day you go home. That's the happy ending. But while you're in there, there is no happy ending. You're dealing with the death of your parents, brothers, sisters, cousins, friends, the loss of everything you may have owned in this world. Every car you had, the house you owned, the kids, the wife, all that's gone. So the happy day is the day you go home. Now, as he's telling me this, we're in a pod, we're in the jail, and I'm sitting there at the table and I'm listening. There's another guy sitting beside him that had done time with these dudes also that would chime in and be like, oh, you remember this happened? That guy has since died of cancer. You remember when this happened? This happened, this happened? So I'm listening to both of them at the same time. He says they don't release on the weekends, Jay. So if they're going to release you and your date comes up and it falls on a weekend, they're going to release you on that Monday morning. He said that weekend, the majority of Meat's boys got all fucked up. Tony's homeboys got all fucked up. Tony got all messed up doing heroin, right? Let me make this clear. Heroin don't discriminate in prison. I've seen dope boys do it. I've seen rich dudes do it. Poor, black, white, Spanish. Dudes just want to escape reality. And that's what was going on with this weekend. Bunch of the stuff that came in, everybody's getting messed up. He's the only one that's really not getting high. He said you could stay out in the day room at this point till late at night. Mike said so he remembers seeing Tony sitting out at the table, Meat sitting at the table, and a bunch of different dudes sitting at different tables, just kicking it, talking. The majority of these dudes are high, but Meat's not high. He said Meat had a job cleaning the pod. He'd sweep the floors, empty the trash, do this, do that. And on that Sunday night, he took the trash can and he pushed it over to his cell. Nothing unusual. Looks like you're cleaning, throwing stuff away, whatever the case may be. But pushing a trash can to your cell is going to raise suspicion. Because you have a little trash can they give you in your cell, you can put trash in. People usually just go dump it. But the dudes are messed up. Nobody pays it no attention. He takes the trash can, pushes it back over to the wall. Now, there's another guy that comes from other pods that gets all the trash can, wheels them out, and then they go to where they're going to be dumped. He said a short time later, another dude comes in, gets that trash can, wheels it out, wheels an empty one back in, and goes on about his business. Now, this is literally right before they lock down, which should have raised suspicion because they don't dump the trash that late at night. This was a dude from upstairs that had come downstairs and had convinced the guards to just, let me go ahead and swap the trash can so I ain't got to do it first thing in the morning. Everybody locks in. It's just another day in prison, right? Mike said that Monday morning, they woke up, they came out, they go to chow. He said when they come back, you get ready to go to rec after that. He said instead of Mike going in the cell or going anywhere near the cell, he sat out in the day room. Tony, his homeboys, Mike's homeboys, hey, we're going to go to the yard. What's up with you? Fall back today. I'm going to stay in the pod, man. I ain't feeling like going to rec. It's summertime. It's beautiful outside. Everybody's going to go outside. Give me a little peace and quiet and time by myself. And ain't nothing more of it. They go out on the yard. Now, at these places, you go out on the yard, you take your knife. Because if something's going to happen, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be in the cell or it's going to be on the yard. So these dudes strap up, they go to the yard. A couple of them got knives, some of them don't. Why would I need one? He got 2, you know what I mean? One of those type of situations. Mike says he's in his cell and he hears the guard come over the loudspeaker. Such and such. Go ahead, grab your stuff. Your time in the Department of Corrections is up. Joking and laughing with him. Mike said he comes out the cell, looks around, and Meat is already headed towards the front with a little bit of stuff he's got. No TV, no clothing. He's got letters and family photos. His family is in the parking lot. He made parole and he kept it quiet from everybody. For whatever reason, guys will try you at the very end of your bid and try to trick up you going home. And Mike said that's what he thought Meat was afraid of. He was afraid of dudes finding out he was going home, doing this, doing that, him catching new charges, the parole board finding out about it, and then him not being able to go home. He said as Meat is leaving, guys are coming back in from rec. They seen with his stuff. There's an officer up front. He's dapping this person up, this person, because he thinks that all his homeboys are on the yard. These dudes ain't gonna know he's gone till they get back in here. That's some crudball shit to do, but it don't warrant what happened next. He said Meat is standing there talking to a dude when Tony and one of the dudes Tony rocks with come up beside him. By now, he's made it out the building. He's standing out front on the sidewalk, and they've walked up on him. I don't know how they got out there. I don't know the layout of this place, so I'm just telling you what was told to me. He said he is standing on the sidewalk, and he's about to head to this other direction where he'll be released. The guards will take him to the front, yada, yada, yada. He said Tony and another dude walk up on me, and they start to talking. Tony asked him, what did you do with the TV? You ain't got the TV. You had been promised me a long time ago you was going to leave me the TV. Where's the TV at? I ain't got a TV no more. I left the TV in the cell. Man, you ain't just leave the TV in the cell because you'd have told me, where's the TV? And he tells him, look, man, I just gave the TV to the dude upstairs. I ain't got time to argue. I'm out this bitch. I'm going home. Deal with it. Not my problem no more, homeboy. I'm free. I'm up out of here. Meat's people are waiting in the parking lot. Mother, father, kids, people he ain't seen in forever. They're outside waiting for him to be released. Any moment now, they're standing outside the prison waiting for him to come to that gate, get in the car, and start his new life. Before any of that can happen, Tony flips out, pulls a knife out, and stabs Meat in the chest repeatedly, right, and leaves him to die right there on the sidewalk. Guards come running. They hit the alarm, get on the ground. The inmates out there all lay down. Tony lays down, drops the knife. Meat lays down on the sidewalk and dies. All behind a television, all behind having a friend that he knew was a monster. Now, I'm sure somewhere in the comment section, somebody's going to jump in here. A lot of people have done time where I'm from. A lot of people remember these stories. A lot of guys were up there, and they'll validate what happened. That Tony killed Meat on the day, and I did change some names up. I didn't change Meat's. I changed the other names up. That Tony killed Meat on the day that Meat was supposed to go home. So as his family waits outside, for him to come out the gates, he's laying on a sidewalk in a pool of blood, gasping, lungs shutting down, blood pressure dropping, to the point that his heart stops beating. Eyes fixated on the sky, staring up, looking at the same sky that his family's looking at on the other side of the fence. And he would take his final breaths. Short time later, his family gets to inquiring about where he's at, why he ain't been released. Hey, look, the prison's on lockdown right now. Nobody's coming out till we figure out what's going on. We've had something really bad happen. Well, how long is this going to take? A few hours. We got the police coming in. There's been a homicide. Y'all have to wait. There's no releases. So they stand out there pacing around thinking that when whatever's going on ends, their loved one will come out. Police cars showing up. State troopers showing up. Homicide investigators showing up. When this type of stuff happens, they bring in the outside police. I've seen. Now, this is before cell phones. So it's not like somebody's going to call her or she can call them. She's got to keep going back and forth. This is his mother going back and forth inside the prison. Where's my son at? Where's my son at? Where's my son at? All right, look, who is your son? We'll look at the processing list, see who's coming out today, and see if we can speed up. Who is your son? She tells him his name. Sorry to tell you, your son is the victim in today's homicide. But he's supposed to get released. He will. But he'll be coming home in a bag. And that's the story of Tony and Meat. Meat making parole and losing his life over a TV he had promised somebody a couple years back. I got from this story, I've never had no homeboy like Tony. Like, if we're going to fight back to back to back, we ain't going to keep kicking it. I do have a couple homeboys I fought a couple different times, but that was over a course of 10, 12, 15 years. We're not going to keep kicking it if we're going to keep fighting. That's not fun to me. But for whatever reason, these two always flocked back to each other. Everybody knew Tony was a savage. Tony had put that knife in many, many people in the prison. But that's an environment where it's, shh, don't say nothing. So he gotten away with it, especially back then when snitches did not live long. So yeah, Meat did go home. But he didn't go home on parole. He went home in a bag. So as y'all know, it's Friday. That means it is payday. Time to get that money. Time to get paid. I know it's a whole lot of people on the way to headed to the bank. Happy right now to get paid. Hope that with today's story, y'all picked up on something. You get whatever you can get from it. Put yourself in everybody involved's shoes. And understand that when you go to prison, you are not guaranteed to come out. You're not. And if you do, you're not going to come out the same way that you went in. Watch the guys you put yourself around. I can understand being around violent men because you're in a violent environment. And you may need them, just like they may need you at times. But when the violence spills over into your lane, and the guy that you're supposed to rock with, that's going to bang out with you, that has banged out with you in the past, starts to turn on you, it's like one of those dogs. You know how they say once a dog turns on you, you put it down? On this situation, you ain't got to put him down because you want to go home, but stay away from him. After he beat me up, me should have got it right then and there. I'm not rocking with you. Look at my eye. Look at my eye. But he didn't. Went against his better judgment. Listen to what everybody around him. Man, y'all good. Just, man, come on, man. Patch it up. And that cost him his life. Stay free, people. Stay crime-free, people. You should be able to have the cops knock at your door and not be worried about going to jail. If when you see a cop, your heartbeat flutters, either you've been in some trouble or you're doing something wrong. These streets, these jails, these prisons, they're all crazy world inside of an already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams, Let's Live Life. And to all my real ones, and there are some real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Man, y'all know how we do. Salute. Rest in peace to me.